Hey guys, SK here, back with another Clash Royale video. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today I'm currently 7-0 in a grand challenge. I'm going to be completing it, or trying to, with the Queenbow Cannon deck. So this deck has pretty much been the best Xbow deck in the meta for a few months, but Cannon did get nerfed in the most recent balance changes. For those of you that didn't know, it got an 8% HP nerf, and so ever since that happened, I've had a lot of people asking me, is Cannon still really good? Is this still the best Xbow deck in the meta? Will this Queenbow deck still run Cannon, or will we have to play a different deck? And so today I'm going to be trying to answer that question and playing a grand challenge, testing out the new Cannon and seeing just how impactful the nerf was. So found the first match against P.E.K.K.A. Let's give him the good luck and see what's going on. Also, I'm going to be playing with Electro Spirit, not Fire Spirit, because this was the final version of the deck that I used to finish top 300 last season. I switched to Electro Spirit for one game. So I guess I'll just be playing it for fun. Just going to go for a queen, and he goes for a lightning, so I'm going to go Xbow instantly because it's probably going to be Golem or Royal Giant. Looks like Golem with the Skeleton King. Going to cannon the bridge, actually, to DPS down the Scaly King as fast as possible. And as you can see, Cannon did take quite a bit more damage from that Skeleton King swing. I'm also going to log the Night Witch back to get an earlier connection, and my opponent already gives a good game for some reason. He's going to have to respond to this. And I think I can just actually let this baby dragon lock onto my tower and then go for a queen to apply even more pressure, because he should be real low in Elixir, considering he played that baby dragon quite late. Barbarian comes down, gonna pop the ability, and then he's gonna be forced to tornado this as well. Yep, so gonna E-Spirit as well just to pressure. Would have been ideal if I got it down in front of the queen, but it's fine. We still get one extra queen hit and an E-Spirit connection as well. I'm actually gonna Xbow the bridge because I'm pretty sure after that Barbarian plus tornado, he should not have enough for a golem. Yeah, it looks like he doesn't, because I've just been keeping him low in Elixir the entire time, just kind of basic Elixir counting, and he goes for a Night Witch, so I'm going to go for a Knight on it. I don't know why he went Scaly King opposite. I guess he didn't want to give me a Knight on top, but at the same time I was able to just Knight for the Night Witch, so I think that is going to be a good game, honestly. We'll see. I mean, that's definitely going to be tower down. He's definitely going to golem in the back now because he's accepted that the tower's gone, so we're going to have to see if we can defend, and this is where Cannon's usage will really come to light, I guess, and we'll see just how effective it can be. Okay, looks like we're not even down Elixir, because that we were able to just log without him playing anything, so that's really good. Just going to queen the back and get ready for this golem defense. So he obviously has lightning in this deck, so I'm going to have to try and cycle 2 cannons, I think. But I don't want to do it right away. I'm going to cannon now after the queen walks up just a bit more, so maybe he can't lightning everything. It looks like sadly he still can, but going to cycle back. 3-card cycle is really good, and as you can see we're already back to another cannon. Going to queen on top of the baby dragon to snipe it. Unfortunately E-Spirit retargeted it, so that kind of works against my favor, but as you can see there, actually Cannon was really useful, because not only was it able to take care of the golem, it still has really good DPS. I was also able to cycle back to the cannon like instantly because it's only 3 elixir, and that is really one of the main benefits of the cannon, just how cheap it is and how effective you can use it, or how effectively you can use it, just because of how cheap it is, how cost effective it is. Gonna cannon here just to kind of pull the golem opposite lane for fun and just prevent him from really building up a big push in the left lane, and that's pretty much going to be game. I'm just gonna Knight for this and make sure we don't lose. Rocket just to be safe, I guess, but yeah, that match, I honestly feel like Cannon was pretty good. I mean, it did its job perfectly. If that was a Tesla in its place, I would have had to spend 1 more elixir each time I used it, and it would have effectively done the same function, because really it was just to pull the golem away and DPS it down, and then after it gets lightning, you have to cycle back to another one. So I definitely think that was good. Also, just single elixir, good punish on his lightning on my queen. Let's get into the next one. Found a game against New Marco, and let's see if we're going to have even more opportunities to show how good the cannon is. So, okay, Barb Hut is interesting. Yeah, so this is the new meta. Another card that was buffed was Barb Hut. I'm not entirely sure on all the details of the rework, but they made it 6 elixir, I'm pretty sure, and it spawns 2 waves of 3 barbarians and then 1 at the end, I think. Or, yeah, after the death spawn is 1. And okay, he just goes for an golem in the back. I'm just going to set up with defense, I guess. This is the Elixir Golem Barb Hut deck that was popular, I think, like over a year ago. There was one really good Chinese player called Fang Feng who did super well with it. I think he finished top 10 with it, actually. But no one else really came that close to matching his success. Just going to pop my ability. I think I have to get a nice rocket down here, because that's just too much spam. And then I'm going to have to log these blobs as well. So E-Golem buff was also buffed, actually. Okay, he goes for a snowball. I think that's way too aggressive. Just going to Xbow. Actually, kind of a mistake. I should have let the E-Drag lock on to tower, so my Xbow would be even healthier, but I think that's going to be game, unless he can get like another E-Drag down. I don't think he's back to one, though, because he just spent too much Elixir on that push. Like, he committed way too much, can't really afford anything for this Xbow, and so this is definitely going to be pretty much game. I mean, he might give up, he might still try and build up a huge push. Either way, though, this should be a pretty good matchup as well, because, okay, he's not going to give up. Unfortunately, I went Knight in the back to maybe try and 3-crown him, but it looks like he's not going to give up, which is fine. But yeah, this deck is interesting. E-Golem was buffed as well. I think what they did was they buffed its hit speed by 15% in all stages, so I don't know how to feel about it. So far I haven't really noticed too much of a change when I'm going up against it, but either way, this deck should still have a really good matchup, because again, Rocket is so good against those stacked dragons. Even Fireball is pretty good. Poison is really bad against this deck, I think, because the healer just heals everything. So just going to get a Rocket down and everything, though. E-Drag the healer plus Elixir Golem blobs, and that's going to be a perfect defense. I actually think I can go, and yeah, because he spent arrows. I'm pretty sure he spent arrows, right? And Snowball. And Rage. Like, that is 7 Elixir worth of spells. So he's definitely not going to have enough for this. And I didn't actually really have to use a cannon that much in this game. I'm going to set with a pre-cannon right now. I don't think I used cannon on either of those defenses. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I rocketed them. But anyways, like, this kind of matchup, even still, I guess Tesla would be pretty good here as well, because being able to hit the dragons in the air would be really useful. But still, just going to E-Spirit to stall up the Inferno Dragon for a bit, and then this should basically be wrapped up. I mean, Cannon again will just pull all of this, but really the main MVP of this match was definitely the Rocket, and also the Queen, I guess 2 of them, because again, Rocket is so good in this matchup. Just if they give you value, I think for the E-Golem player, what they have to do is they have to try and spread out their stuff as much as possible to not give you Rocket value, but then if you can just land a good Rocket on enough stuff, it still should work out. But also Queen is just so useful in that type of matchup. But yeah, I'm not really sure how to feel about E-Golem making a resurgence. I know a lot of you guys might be upset. I know a lot of people dislike going against E-Golem, and I guess, yeah, I don't really like the archetype that much either. But with 3 Expo Cycle, Fireball is really good against it. And with Queen Bow, I mean, Queen is just so good. Okay, found next match, though, against Iman. Let's see what he's going to be running. Just going to E-Spirit the bridge. The E-Spirit's also really nice because usually they do try and activate King off of it. Okay, looks like he didn't there, but that does give you a pretty good idea of what they're playing at the start. Just going to pop my Queen ability, I guess, and then try and Expo with this Queen, because he just spent 6 Elixir, so he shouldn't have too much. Okay, he has enough for a Mega Knight, unfortunately, and I messed up my Skeleton's timing. That is quite bad, actually. Gonna have to get a Knight down because those bats are definitely going to swarm me. Okay, so that wasn't ideal. I thought he might not have enough because he spent 6 with the Miner plus Skelly Barrel, but I guess Elixir came back in time for him to have enough for a Mega Knight, so just not an ideal start. I guess I probably, in hindsight, should have committed more to the defense and not really tried to go in so early, but it should still be fine. Mega Knight Skelly Barrel bait is usually a pretty good matchup. Okay, he has a Dark Prince for some reason. Just going to set up with a cannon, I guess, and I thought it was going to be the Mega Knight Skelly Barrel deck with Inferno Dragon, but I guess he has a slightly different version. Dark Prince Musketeer. Just going to Skeletons for the Musketeer. Should fully defend it. And then I'm going to Expo because I'm pretty sure we outcycled the Mega Knight now. Yeah, he's not back to it. Going to log the Skarmy. And he goes for a Miner. Unfortunately, I have to commit to the Skelly Barrel on the left. Didn't have E-Spirit and Cycle, so I have to Knight on it. So Miner plus Zap will take care of the Expo, but we still got some of our damage back, which is good. And yeah, just kind of outcycling the Mega Knight, you know, single Elixir, pretty important against these heavier type decks. So we'll see how the match progresses. So far, though, this deck seems okay enough in terms of a matchup. And Cannon should be really good here as well, I think, because Skeleton Barrel is 3 Elixir, Cannon is 3 Elixir, and Cannon should fully counter it, as opposed to a Tesla, which would also fully counter it, but it costs 1 more. So just another example, you know, Cannon just being so cheap is so useful. Actually just going to go for it here. Pop my Queen ability. Definitely fine to let the Cannon take the hit of the Dark Prince charge, because Queen will deal with everything. Just gonna Expo, Knight for the Mega Knight, and okay, unfortunately I misplaced it, but should still be fine. Gonna surround with Skeletons and try and DPS it down as fast as possible. Then I think I'm actually gonna Cannon to snipe this Musketeer after it locks onto the Knight, and then Expo right away, because I do actually have a pretty good opportunity right here. I did outcycle his Mega Knight. I'm just going to Knight to block the Dark Prince, log a Miner into the cannon's range. And okay, unfortunately Dark Prince wasn't in cannon's range, but E-Spirit should clean everything up. Okay, he does go for a pretty awkward Musketeer, so we are really keeping him low on Elixir right now, which is good. And right there, Cannon was actually really useful, because for only 3 Elixir, provided quite a lot. So mainly I think the benefit of this nerf, or the main effect of this nerf is going to be against spells, I guess, because less HP. But if they can't actually hit your cannon, then the HP is actually going to be the same, right? And the damage is also going to be the same. So in that sense, cannon is actually pretty much just as good in some situations. But yeah, Zab forced out. I think we definitely won right here because I outcycled his Mega Knight again, and I really want to Xbow, but my Xbow's still alive, which is kind of funny to be complaining about, but I actually think I can just rocket and get back to a second rocket. Xbow got quite a lot of damage there. All I really have to do is defend this, and I think I should be fine. Just log once the Skelly Barrel pops, and then Knight for the Miner, and then we're 1 away from a rocket, so that should pretty much just be game. Just going to take the rocket, and that's going to be a good game. So yeah, a bit of an unfortunate start there. I think I was a bit too aggressive at the start by trying to go in, but we were able to come back and get a nice connection. So let's look for the next match. 10-0 now, actually, so surprisingly doing really well with the new cannon. Final next game against Mini Adnan. Okay, this is actually going to be a pro player. I'm going to give him the good luck. I'm pretty sure this is his mini account, because he also has a number 40 global tourney finish, so should be the one. Does go for a ghost. Okay, so not sure what this is going to be. Knowing him, I would guess Royal Giant, which would be pretty hard, actually, but we'll find out. Knight for the ghost is pretty standard, and Bandit. Okay, so it looks like it is going to be Bridgespam then, which should be quite a good matchup. If he has Magic Archer, it's going to be a bit annoying, but okay, looks like he has the minions instead, which will be really useful for me, because if I was going to say if he has Magic Archer, it'll be a bit annoying because I don't have Fireball for it. I have Rocket in this deck, but if he has minions, it should be a really easy matchup. And he doesn't have Zap in cycle, he just used it, so this should actually force out even more Elixir. Yeah, Ghost forced out. Just going to pop my ability, should get like 2 hits hopefully. And there we go, and then just going to cannon for the battle ram. Okay, this is really funny because I was going to see if like cannon is any worse. He's spamming pretty hard right now. I think I have to fully defend this, but E-Spirit plus the cycle cards will do a pretty good job, and then Knight actually gets a hit on his tower as well, which is really nice. So he went really aggressively there. I mean, minions are also really good against Rocket because you don't really want to rocket them, but as long as you can defend them with a queen relatively easily, it should be good. And this type of matchup, P.E.K.K.A Bridgespam without Magic Archer, queen should put in a ton of work because he can't really snipe the queen with anything if I protect her well. And I was also going to say this is quite funny because, okay, does poison. I'm going to go for an Xbow actually because he just spent 4 with the E-Wiz, 4 with the poison. He just barely gets the P.E.K.K.A down in time. Actually going to protect this Xbow, I think. Should be pretty solid. And then after he zaps, I can get skeletons down. Looks like he doesn't zap right away. Gonna log and E-Spirit just to keep my Xbow alive, and we are actually gonna get a connection, which is really nice. I did overcommit quite a lot there, actually. I can't really afford to cannon in time for this bandit, so just gonna cannon late. Should still take care of the bandit relatively well, yeah. Cannon's hit speed is still so good, like the damage is still insane out of cannon. Pretty sure it has more DPS than a Tesla. But I was gonna say in this type of matchup it's pretty funny because cannon is actually better than a Tesla, I think, because it's 1 less elixir. The only air that really matters in this type of deck is minions, but I have a queen, so it should be okay. Gonna Skelly surround the ghost just to make sure the cannon helps out and takes care of it before it gets any damage. And then I'm just gonna pop my queen ability, log the P.E.K.K.A back. I can actually cycle back to another Xbow possibly. He does go for a bandit, so I'm gonna go Knight and then Xbow. And we definitely outcycled the P.E.K.K.A right here, so it should be a pretty good situation. He does predict the Xbow with the E-Wiz. Pretty good play out of him. Again, he's a really good player, but this is a really good matchup for me, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to go Skeletons to protect my Xbow. E-Spirit as well. Xbow is locked on the tower, so that's going to be a huge connection. I can actually Xbow again, even though he does have a poison down. I don't think he'll be able to get a P.E.K.K.A down in time. Unfortunately, Queen dies. Bandit comes down, yeah. Okay, that's actually... See, middle Xbows are pretty useful, but also they can be really susceptible to stuff as well. Like the bandit there was able to dash onto it, and then my towers weren't helping out, so sometimes they're useful. Like I went for it because I think he had something on the river, but at the same time you have to be careful. Okay, minions coming down. As you can see though, E-Spirit plus Queen will just do a really good job at taking care of them. Cannon, he's spamming pretty hard in both lanes, but as long as I get back to this Knight last second. Okay, and somehow I think that bandit was about to dash onto my Queen. That was kind of crazy, but yeah, we should be pretty good here. Just gonna pop my queen ability, and it looks like we might actually get a lot of damage in the left as well. P.E.K.K.A comes down. This time I'm gonna have to rocket the minions. It's not that bad of a play, honestly, considering I also hit the P.E.K.K.A. I think it's definitely worth it. Just gonna log this battle ram into my cannon, and then I really just have to chill out and just get 2 rockets down here, honestly. Could also go in if he commits too much, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a good game at this point. Yeah, he looks like he's a bit upset about it, but I don't know. He goes for a P.E.K.K.A at the bridge. I could rocket, honestly. I guess I will, because I have a queen down. I do have the 3-card cycle. It's a bit risky, but it should be okay as long as I defend this relatively easily. Gonna cannon just to be sure that it doesn't lock onto tower and take it too early. But yeah, that is pretty much going to be game, so I'm going to give him the well played, because honestly he tried his best. That's a pretty hard matchup for him again, but yeah, cannon putting in so much work there. It's actually kind of insane. I went into this recording trying to show maybe Cannon would be worse, but so far all I've really found is that Cannon is still putting in a lot of work. Maybe it's also just the matchups I'm getting. I mean, Lava Hound is one that Cannon does no favors for you in, and it was already bad enough before the nerf. Now I think it's going to be even less tanky against like Balloon or Lava Hound. So that's definitely one I'm not looking forward to. Lava Hound was always quite a hard matchup, but should be even worse after the nerf for sure. But otherwise, you know, getting really good matchups so far. Found the next match though. Found the hopefully 12-win match. I'm 11-0 actually, I just realized, so it would be pretty crazy if I got a flawless GC with Queenbow Cannon after the nerf. We'll see though. Okay, Barb Hut again. Not too surprising, I guess, to see a lot of Barb Hut. Guess I just have to cannon. Unfortunately, don't have an Xbow in cycle, so cannon should do a pretty good job at taking the barbs out. And then I guess I'm just going to set up with a queen same lane. Could be E-Golem again. Okay, Baby Dragon. Yeah, actually, could also be Graveyard, though. I have seen a bit of a resurgence of Barb Hut Graveyard as well. So it'll be interesting to see. And yeah, there's the Graveyard. So gonna Knight to protect my queen. E-Spirit for this Graveyard, and then Queen should retarget to the tower pretty soon. We took, like, I think 2 or 3 skeleton hits there, but it's not the end of the world. And actually, we got a really nice counter push going. So I'm actually going to go in right here, because Queen's alive. Should force out a Barb Barrel. And I don't think he's back to his Barb Hut just as yet. Gonna Skeletons to try and catch this, and Cannon to DPS as fast as possible. Does pop the ability, which will actually be really bad, because Xbow is really good against Skeleton King ability, because the Skeletons only have 1 HP, so Xbow actually just one-shots them. And right here, actually, Cannon put in so much work. Like, that was better than a Tesla, because, again, I'm pretty sure Cannon is higher DPS than a Tesla. At least it definitely seems that way to me. And it also costs 1 less, so to support that push for 1 less Elixir and do more than a Tesla would have done, because he didn't have a Baby Dragon down, that is just insane. So just going to defensive Expo, though, against the Barb Hut. I think this is always the pretty standard play. Even if they poison, that's a 10 for 6, and we should still take out most of the Barb Hut unless he protects it even more. But yeah, it is going to lock on, and then we can just log if we need to on these barbs. I guess I will, because Expo is getting pretty low on HP. So Baby Dragon is quite annoying, though. I only have Queen in this deck as an air defense, so should be my main source of defense against the Baby Dragon here. Just gonna rocket the Skelly King, actually. This seems like a bit of an overspend, but I definitely feel comfortable in my ability to defend his graveyards. He does go for the Musketeer as well, so he has a Musketeer here. I'm gonna Knight to protect my Queen against the Musketeer. E-Spirit to reset against these Skeletons, and nice, looks like we defended that really well. Cannon against the Graveyard. This is really funny. Like, I'm really not trying to talk big about the Cannon and like hype it up so much, but Cannon is better than Tesla against Graveyard as well. Like, literally is, because it hits faster. Gonna defensive Expo, and this is interesting. This was actually I remember this from like over a year ago, back in the no tilt championships. I think that was 2020. Yeah, I think that was 2020 actually. So that was a long time ago, but that was back when the Barb Hut Graveyard was really meta, and that defensive Expo placement you saw me use was really popular because they would go for Barb Huts down low to try and avoid getting sniped by an Expo. But if you play it in the anti-poison placement but 1 tile higher, you can still defend against the Barb Huts most of the time. So that's why I used it, just kind of a little memory there. Gonna E-Spirit against this Graveyard, and that's honestly a pretty clean Graveyard defense. I do have to defend against the Baby Dragon though, so just gonna go for a Knight. And I can honestly cycle 2 Rockets here. I might just Rocket the first time, or actually might as well just set up with defense just a little bit more. Just get a bit stronger of a defensive setup before I go for the Rocket cycle. And let's see, poison comes down. Just gonna rocket, I guess, because he just spent his poison already. Queen is still alive, like I don't really see how he's gonna break through. And if he goes for like a baby dragon at the bridge, I can just bridge block it with my knight, blocking the graveyard tank. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that actually. And I can just cannon, or I can actually just E-Spirit and get back to a rocket instantly. So that's gonna be game. Really nice win there against Barb Hut Graveyard, and that's gonna be a flawless 12-0 with Queenbow Cannon Rocket. So I mean, pretty interesting stuff there. I mean, 12-0, can't really argue against the results. Flawless Grand Challenge, undefeated with the deck, so I guess, yeah, I mean, I wanted to show you guys how good the deck would be. I wasn't expecting it to have this much success, I'm going to be honest. Like, I really didn't think it would be this effective. Like, even in the Golem game, honestly, it was really good. But I'm just going to open up my 12-win GC chest, you know, like I always say. For only 100 gems, there's so much value in this chest, so definitely going to take it. And yeah, let's just look at some of the matchups I had. I mean, Barpet Graveyard is interesting. All of these matchups, though, for the most part, Cannon put in work against. Here are some of my other matchups as well that I went up against. You know, I beat Lava Hound. I was playing Fireball earlier as well. Fireball was so helpful in the Lava matchup. That was insane, though. But yeah, like, it's just ridiculous how much success Cannon's having. It might just be the matchups, but at the same time, like, it was still really useful. You guys saw, like, against the graveyards, against the Golem, where you cycle multiple cannons against the lightning. Like, that's just the strategy you use, and I don't know, I wasn't expecting it to be this useful. But it is very good against the graveyard skeletons, like I said. It was very good against P.E.K.K.A because only minions. Very good against this one as well. I guess it was so-and-so, but E-Golem as well. And Golem, it put in so much work against. It was just ridiculous. I might, because I just got an undefeated video, I might show you guys some of the other matchups I had, just for even more examples of the new cannon in action. I guess I will. Here's the first matchup, up against Ram Rider Recruits, and this one was interesting because it's quite a toxic deck, I would say. I think this was meta like a long time ago when Barb Hut was pretty good. But I wasn't expecting it to come back. I guess he also has the newly buffed Goblin Gang, so he has a bunch of newly buffed cards, you know, Goblin Gang, Barb Hut. But yeah, this is quite an annoying matchup, I guess, because Royal Recruits are here, and I don't have a Fireball. I have a Rocket, which I feel like is worse against this type of deck, because Fireball is really good against Barb Hut, if you guys didn't know. But he just Fireballs off my Queen, and at this point I'm still trying to figure out what it is, because Dark Goblin plus Fireball isn't really something you see very often. Usually Logbait has Rocket, and with the gang as well, I think it is going to be some kind of bait deck, but I'm comfortable just logging because I don't really know if he has Barrel or anything yet. And he does just set up with the archers in the back, so I'm going to Xbow just to kind of find out what he has. Does get the Barb Hut down, but this is actually really good for me because he kind of messed up. You know, my Xbow's locked onto the Barb Hut. He played it a bit late, and so Xbow is going to put in a lot of work there, and it will get a pretty good job of cleaning up everything, and then Queen will also force a response out. So overall, I would say this was a pretty good start to this match, you know, just forcing a Fireball out. I'm already up Elixir. I took a bit of Dark Goblin damage in the left as well as the Fireball, but other than that, it's fine. And Ram Rider in this deck is definitely more welcome than something like Royal Hogs, because that would be harder to stop. But I just set up with a Knight in the back, and let's see what he goes for. Okay, Barb Barrel. So I actually just ignore the Barb Barrel. This is kind of interesting, but I recognize that Barb Hut's out of cycle, so I have a really good offensive opportunity. Fireball is also out of cycle, so I kind of just ignore some damage in the left there from the Barb Hut, and I just go in. And here I try and kite this stuff out of Xbow range with my Skeletons and E-Spirit. And he goes for a gang last second, but I do get a nice log down, and I do get a nice connection. So that's going to put me in the damage lead. So just a nice little play there of, you know, using the tower damage as a resource. Sometimes you can do that, where I ate the entire Barb Barrel, and it worked out. And here he goes for another Barb Hut, so I just defensive Xbow, and this time anti-Fireball placement. He really messed up with that Barb Barrel, actually. For some reason, he let the Knight get 2 hits on the tower. I don't know why. But Split Archers does not, unfortunately for him, hit my Xbow, so this is still looking really good for me so far. And then he goes for a Ram Rider. That's the first time I'm seeing it, but I cannon instantly just to protect my Xbow. And there, Cannon actually put in quite a lot of work, honestly, because it took out the Ram Rider entirely without the Xbow getting hit by the Ram Rider. So worked out really well. And here I just defensive Xbow. He does Fireball and he misses the Xbow, so that was... Honestly, this game my opponent made quite a lot of mistakes, to be fair. But I think he lost because of that, because now my Xbow's alive. I just get back to a second Xbow. Oh, and that Barb Hut was really, really bad. Like, he should have realized I had a Xbow threat coming, because I had a healthy defensive Xbow. But yeah, I just get it, and it's locked on. I rock it to finish the game off, and that's pretty much just going to be game. So, I mean, I definitely think my opponent didn't play that very well, but also I think I played it pretty well myself. You know, just pressure at the right time, defending the Barb Hut's alright, and it was pretty good. So, anyways, let's look at some other matchups with the deck. I'm pretty sure I went up against Royal Hogs Earthquake. At some point, yeah, I did. I also went up against PumpBow. So I'll show you guys the Royal Hogs Earthquake game, because usually Royal Hogs Earthquake is quite hard to beat with Xbow. With this deck, I think it might be Xbow's matchup. I'm not sure. Fire Spirit is definitely better than E-Spirit against the Royal Hogs, but he also has the Bomber instead of the Queen, which I didn't actually realize at the time, but that is a big difference maker in this kind of situation. And he goes for an Earthquake instantly. Just pre-cycling an Earthquake. I guess it's fine though, because you can't really get punished for it in this deck, unless I had like a pump, but then he would just cycle back to it super fast. So I just queen the back for his Bomber, and then I Xbow because he just uses Earthquake, so it makes sense to go in. Knight as well, because I know at this point it's going to be Royal Hogs Earthquake with the cannon in there, so I just protect against his Queen, which I thought he had, but he had a Bomber. And my Queen is actually locked on, so he kind of messed up there. My Queen gets 3 hits on tower, I think, so that is honestly just quite a big connection for such an early start. But I guess that kind of stemmed from his Earthquake cycle early on, so he kind of messed up there. But also, why I wanted to show you guys this match is because I used cannon pretty effectively here as well. So here I go for the cannon, and I push the Royal Hogs into the anti-Earthquake cannon placement, and I didn't actually need to do that because he actually played the Royal Hogs in a bit of a suboptimal placement, like at the center of the bridge. But still, you know, that's the trick that you use with cannon, because you know there's an anti-Earthquake Tesla placement. There is also an anti-Earthquake cannon placement, and you push it with either your skeletons, your Fire Spirit, or anything really, but it's best to push with the cycle cards because it's so cheap. But here, he goes for a Bomber. I Xbow again just because I do have a Queen counter-pushing once more. He goes Royal Hogs, but Queen will put in a lot of work here, and then I log as well, and log actually clips the Bomber, which is huge because that is going to be another connection. So honestly, just counter-pushing with my Queens, because why not? And I pop my ability here, and he doesn't have any Elixir, so he gives a good game already. He really messed up, I think. He went really aggressively in single Elixir, you know, gave me Queen counter-pushes, and I just kind of punished him accordingly, I guess. But here again, Royal Hogs, I do the same thing. You know, I am practicing the trick, but it's kind of funny, I don't even need to, because he's kind of misplacing his Royal Hogs, but that is the anti-Earthquake cannon placement, so it is still very useful. The other thing though, if you might have noticed, it does die quicker to the Royal Hogs, because it did get the HP nerf, of course. But yeah, here I think I just rocket tower, honestly, yeah, because like nothing's really happening in the match, and I have the defense on lockdown pretty much, so might as well. Here I pre-cycle my cannon into Earthquake placement, and actually he pushes his own Royal Hogs with the E-Spirit, I think. He is going for Earthquakes up high, which is pretty smart, I guess, because it is forcing more out of me. But as long as you defend well, you know, with Queen, with cycle cards, you log the pigs back, you'll still be okay. And then I rocket the tower again, and now we just need one more rocket, so just one more Royal Hogs defense. This time, he did actually not mess up his Royal Hogs placement, so some of them go to the tower, but it's still fine because it's so late in the game, it doesn't really matter at this point. So that's pretty much just going to be game. So yeah, really nice win against Royal Hogs Earthquake there. My opponent definitely didn't play his troops very well, but at the same time still showed you everything you have to do with this deck to beat it. And I think Rocket is better than Fireball in that matchup. I might be wrong because, you know, Fireball is useful, but it makes sense, I guess, because you can just Rocket cycle better. But here's the next match against Jack, I guess the final match of the video. I'll show you guys this one last replay against PumpBow, because Rocket is really bad against PumpBow. At least it kind of is, because Elixir Pump is just a -1 trade all the time if you rocket it. And here he actually baited out my rocket with a Queen, and I don't have anything against this pump. So I just queen the bridge just to pressure a bit and find out what he has. He goes Ice Golem to stall. I just log it back to force even more Elixir out, and he didn't have enough for the Barbs in time, which was good, because I did force out quite a bit of Elixir with that Queen. It was just a 5 for 6, actually a -1 trade for me, so actually not that good, in all honesty. He does go for an Xbow pretty much at 10 here. But his deck is kind of interesting because he doesn't have enough to support it with anything, right? He doesn't have Ice Golem and Cycle, so he does go Barbs at the bridge, but Knight Cannon does really good job. As you can see, Cannon dies faster, but it is still very good at DPSing stuff down, like very fast. So it still pretty much does a really good job at taking care of the Xbow, and the Barbs take care of it afterwards because, you know, it's pretty frail. But I am forced to log them. I was thinking maybe I won't need to, but I did need to there. Another pump comes down, and I recognize I can't really rocket that, unfortunately, because I would just kind of get screwed by... First, it would be a -1 trade. Second, he would just go for another Xbow, outcycle my rocket, and I would be kind of screwed. So I just defensive Xbow. This is pretty much the main recourse you have against PumpBow, where you just defensive Xbow. And he really messed up there going for an Xbow into my Xbow. I think he definitely just got a bit impatient there and needed to wait for the Ice Golem to cross, but I'll definitely take it because that was a bit sketchy, and it still kind of is, honestly, because the pump is still alive. But really nice defense against the Queen there, not taking any hits. But yeah, he's still up. At this point, I can't really ignore that pump because now it's about to be double Elixir, and I don't really have an imminent threat of an Xbow or anything, so now I'm pretty comfortable going for that rocket, and I just defensive Xbow here. So you can see here, I'd much rather have a Fireball in this matchup. So this kind of situation, Queen Bow, I don't know, with Rocket, I think Xbow with Fireball would be much better at dealing with this kind of situation, but still, you know, I just Knight, I log everything back. Xbow's on the Queen, which is really good for me, and then I just get a really nice defense there. I do still have this to worry about, but Knight plus log will clean everything up, and this time if he Xbows, I can just rocket it. So he does go for the Xbow. I don't mess around. I know that if I go like Cannon or anything, I just stall it out. I'll probably just get overwhelmed and be down too much Elixir. So I just take a bit of damage and take the rocket on it. I think it's for the best. So here, Pump comes up, and obviously I don't have a rocket in cycle, so it's not looking that great. But I still defensive Xbow. And, you know, I'm not really panicking, I'm just getting ready for defense, just defensive Xbow all the time. Like I said, that's what you do even with through Xbow cycle, because they don't have a big spell. Like, this is the only play you can really make, just defensive Xbow. And here I don't rocket that pump because my Xbow is pretty much close to dying, and he might go for another Xbow. So I'd rather just kind of go in, or play more defensively, I guess. I mean, play more offensively, I guess. Like, I don't really want to rocket the pump. But here I go in because I think I'm up quite a bit of Elixir after that exchange, and I have a Knight counter pushing as well. And he, other than Barbs, he doesn't have a very great defensive core. Like, he has Barbs and Ice Golem, everything else kind of dies. So he doesn't get Barbs down in time. I get a really nice damage burst, and again, that is definitely thanks to the cannon. And I get another nice connection. So at this point, you know, I know that if I just defend, I can win. I pretty much just rocket the pump, and I hit the Queen as well, which was really bad for my opponent. That was a lot of Elixir that he just threw away, kind of giving away the pump's advantage a bit, I guess. But now, again, just defensive Xbow, and there isn't really a way he can win at this point, because he can't really outcycle me, he can't really get a pump down. It's triple Elixir now, so as long as you survive till triple, I think it's honestly pretty good for you. I don't know about the matchup overall, though, because I don't think it's going to be that easy to defend. You just have to defensive Xbow all the time, though. I mean, again, Rocket is less effective against Fireball, than Fireball against Pump, for sure, because it is just a -1 trade every time, and it's less versatile because it has less radius, so they can just play their Pump in the middle and kind of throw you off. But still, defensive Xbows are basically the key to this. And Cannon was honestly pretty good. Again, I use it mostly offensively, either to defend the Xbow or to help my Xbow out, and it was honestly better than a Tesla, I would say, here, because Tesla would have just costed one more for the same exact function. Because again, like, the only real main benefit of Tesla over Cannon is that it hits air. But otherwise, Cannon was always better. I guess that might have to be reconsidered now that Cannon was nerfed. Maybe the defensive value would also have to change, and people might think of it in a different light, but still, you know, I guess that's going to be it for the video. Those are all my matches, and I definitely think Cannon put in a ton of work in this video, so hopefully it helps you guys with a bit of insight. I'm not sure if Tesla or Cannon is better, but just wanted to make a video to show it out. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next one. Alright guys, so if you remember, Trainer Adnan was the 11th win in the GC. I went up against him. He was playing P.E.K.K.A Bridgespam with minions, and I won pretty easily, I guess, because it is quite a good matchup. He played it really well, though. Again, he is a really good pro player, and he actually wanted a rematch, so we just played another rematch. I didn't do commentary for this one, but I decided to just include it in the video just because you know, it was another game against a pro player, so might as well just show it off. And also, pretty good practice with the new cannon again, so I guess I just wanted to include it in the video. Again, this kind of matchup I feel like is a pretty good matchup for Xbow, especially with the cannon in here, and the queen. When they don't have minions, rocket isn't that big of a deterral, because you don't really need to worry about not having fireball for the magic archer, and queen just puts in so much work. But yeah, I just wanted to include this in the video. You guys can watch it if you want, or you don't have to. But it is just another rematch of that same matchup where we both just try and play perfectly, I guess. So anyways, again, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and hope you enjoyed this match, and I will see you in the next video.